AskReddit. Guys who did something stupid for a girl, what did you do? She crashed her bike going down a paved road, so I did the same to impress her, or to make her feel better. I really don't know my reasoning. She landed in the ditch. I did not. Did you die? I think he did. I'll let another kid punch me in the face. It worked. Wrote a fucking poem in a Word document and emailed her. Not even LaTeX. Bro. My anaconda don't want none, unless it's typeset in computer modern hun. Enrolled in the same uni, she stopped talking to me 2 weeks later. Traveled an hour and a half multiple times a week to go see her. She never did the same for me, and she eventually ghosted me. It was probably one of the most pathetic and cringy times in my life, but I learned a lot from it. Best advice I have for anyone going through this is never go the extra mile for someone who doesn't or wouldn't do the same for you. It's never worth it. Similar experience. In hindsight, I was playing the nice guy, and by no means am I implying that it is a healthy behavior for men to expect something back from a girl just because you are emotionally and physically present for them. Used to wait for hours for her just to see her. Most times, she blew me off without telling me, or she would find reasons to avoid me. It tore my mental health apart, and if it wasn't for close friends who walked me through that season in my life, I'd be in a very different place right now. Oof, I used to work with a guy whose girlfriend dumped him for another guy and she didn't have a car, so she would call him all the time to give her rides to her new boyfriend's house. He refused to stop talking to her because he wanted to show her how nice and mature he was. Fucking idiot. Jumped over a fire pit and ruined my right knee. Doctors were amazed I ever managed to walk, let alone have full use. Still better than half jumping over a fire pit. Op be nimble, op be quick, op jumped over a fire pit. In elementary school, when I walked by this girl I liked, I would pretend to chew gum and crack my knuckles cause I thought I'd look cool. Me from the other side of the room. Fuck, that guy's cool. Maybe I'll give it a try. Proceeds to mash gum into fist. Instructions unclear. Dick stuck and gum in fist. I met a girl and fell head over heels for her. She lived in another state. Nevertheless, we started a long distance relationship. Coincidentally, she had just lost her job, so I sent her money every week. Almost my entire check, and I drove out to see her every chance I got. That autumn I found out she had a boyfriend and was just using me to pay her rent. I was at work when I found out and just left. I had to confront her about deceiving me. I drove 3 hours to her house, and by the time I got there, I knew it didn't matter. She wasn't the person I thought she was. I gave her everything I had for nothing in return. Instead of being mad or saying something that would win her back, I told her that she a horrible person for lying to me, that I hope someday someone hurts her as much as she did me. The next day I went back to my job to see if I could get my last paycheck. My boss took me into his office and laid into me about being irresponsible and failing the company. While I was sitting there, I could barely hear him as all I could think about was how stupid I was, and suddenly, I started crying. I mean torrents of tears, ugly cry. I must have bawled for a good 10 minutes. My boss stopped berating me and silently waited for me to get control of myself. Then, in a very sympathetic tone, he told me it's okay. I was in love like that once. We all do stupid things in the name of love. Try to learn from this. It may seem like the world is ending, but it's not. You'll be okay. Then he sent me back to work stating that we never have to talk about it again. He was a good boss and a great guy. Grew my hair long because she asked me to. She stopped going out with me. I kept growing it and wasn't successful with women until I got it cut. Do I have to pick just one thing? High school, I had a good job where I could work 40 hours a week and go to school, so I had a stupid amount of money and parents who for some reason didn't pay any attention to what I was doing with it. As a senior, I was dating a sophomore, and her mom told her it's not your prom, so I'm not paying for a dress and everything. I ended up spending well over $1,500 on dress, and hair, and makeup, and shoes, and manicure, and a photo shoot, and a custom made blue topaz pendant with a massive stone I handpicked to perfectly match the dress she would be wearing. Last time I saw that stone it was on a chain around her best friend's neck, after we broke up. College girlfriend of several months called me up, and was sobbing incoherently. All I could make out between the gulps of breath and wailing was died. Her grandmother was not well, and she and I would go visit her from time to time, so I assumed it was her grandmother that died. I threw my Xbox controller mid-game at my roommate, leapt to my feet, and said, "Hey man, I have to go." Once I arrived at her apartment and calmed her down, I managed to ascertain that it was not her grandmother who had died, but her goldfish. She said she wanted to have a funeral for her fish. I was annoyed, but determined to compassionately help her cope, because obviously that goldfish mattered to her. I recommended she go get cleaned up and take a hot shower to relax, and while she was in there I called up a couple of my friends and some of her girlfriends. I had a buddy of mine go to the park at the small campus lake and dig a fish grave. I had her girlfriends take her out to lunch. Then I got the floating carcass out of the bowl, wrapped it in toilet paper, and placed it in a jewelry box coffin. We went and had a full fish funeral with music and people speaking, and Psalm 23 by the lake. Afterward, when we were back at her apartment, she said, "I don't know why you did that. We should've just flushed it." We broke up a few weeks later. Just in high school, I saw a girl I liked walking with her friend. My genius brain decided I needed to impress her, so I decided skipping backwards and saying some quip would make me noticeable for sure. I started skipping backwards and said, "Better get to class." I attempted to turn around while skipping and almost face planted but caught myself. I sped walk to class and never spoke to her again. Getting up from the bleachers to play dodgeball, I tried to pull my sweatpants off while yelling, "Let's do this." Ended up yanking off everything, boxers and all. A girl was leading me on, but also being obvious about it. I was stupidly believing I could change her ways and get her to actually date me. She had revealed she always wanted a giant teddy bear. So for her birthday/Valentine's Day I bought a giant bear costume from Amazon and like 90 roses. The idea was one for every day I had known her. Creepy and cringy AF looking back. Anyhow, she called me drunk the night before and screamed mean shit at me, and I finally broke down and told myself she was a shitty person because she always was terrible to me, and I let myself think I could change that because I was desperate to not be alone. In the end I created a sign that said "Free bear hugs and roses for Valentine's" and wore the bear suit onto our college campus on Valentine's Day to give away all the roses. It made so many people happy that it was one of the best things I've ever done. So many hugs and girls were crying because they didn't have to feel so alone on a shitty commercialized holiday. It was cool. Plus the football players all took a flower and hugged me, which was surprisingly wholesome. Smartphone contract, 2 years €45 monthly. After 6 months she left me. Now I have 2 phones and €70 to pay every month. I made a rap point. No, I genuinely am too cringed about it to post it. Moved across the country to go to a university near her. She dumped me 4 weeks later. PS. My life turned out great as a result of my decision to attend this school, so it has a happy ending. Oof, I made the opposite mistake. I had an in at an acting school in New York, but I stayed in freaking Michigan because I was infatuated with someone who was sticking around. Never even dated the person. I was just unhealthily obsessed. It was bad. I needed help. I wish I had left my hometown sooner. Not me, but back in middle school a friend of mine made a graffiti on the wall of a girl's house in the middle of night, saying he loved her. He misspelled her name. In high school this girl who I was close friends with but also had a not so secret crush on told me once how she really loved those huge 7-foot tall teddy bears, so I told her one day I'd buy her one and she laughed, writing it off as a joke. Fast forward like 3 years later, when we are going to the same local college and reconnected after slowly drifting apart after high school. She tells me one day that she's sick, so I do the only logical thing. Drive to Costco after class, drop 200 bucks on that huge teddy bear, stuff it into the backseat of my tiny Honda Civic, drive incredibly dangerously since the bear is taking up my entire rear window, then show up at her front door. She says it feels too weird and romantic given our past, me having that not so secret crush back in high school and her having to tell me multiple times that we are better off as friends. So I do the whole drive back and return the bear. Gave her a chocolate bar with a golden ticket to go out with me. I got denied. I was so completely obsessed with a girl that I disregarded my own well-being and threw away any chance I had for success. We dated for 4 years while we were in school for architecture. Towards the end of our degrees, she started having trouble with her thesis project and asked for help. In what can only be described as a lengthy period of insanity, I decided to stop working on my own projects and focus entirely on her thesis. I did everything for her: designs, drawings, models, and write-ups. Her presentation went flawlessly, and she had the top grades in her class. As a result of staying up all night for weeks at a time and repeatedly delaying my own work, I failed most of my classes and dropped out of school. She was grateful and begged me to help her work on her master's degree as well. No problem. Got her straight A's and a brand new diploma to add to her collection. She dumped me on graduation day and immediately began a relationship with someone who understood the importance of self-respect. I'm not even mad. It was entirely my own doing, and I learned some valuable lessons. Really expensive fuck up though. Cost me about 8 years of my life playing catch up. Never put a school relationship before your own success. I told my university-aged, now boyfriend, before our first date, that I thought he looked cute in his high school uniform. Had been looking at old pics, so he rocked up to pick me up in his full school uniform that barely fit him anymore. Do you think he'll take it off for the wedding? In middle school I dated a guy who carved my initials into his leg. Flattering, I guess. First girl I asked out, I left a chalk outline of a body on her driveway, along with a, clearly fake, police report indicating I was dying to go out with her. Yeah, I still cringe at the memory. Edit. To everyone asking, I did know her, and we had been flirtatious with each other. One of her friends assured me she would say yes to something creative. She did not say yes. When I was around 15 I got really frustrated that a girl that I had known for a while did not want to like me and get together. I was texting her in the middle of class and the teacher made a comment about it, and she made me hand over the phone and something snapped in me. I threw a chair across the room, hit my desk, which broke my hand, and I broke down crying. I thought about it today and it still makes me cringe sometimes. And I apologize to my teacher and everyone included. The girl is now one of my closest friends. Cool. One I can answer. I had a breakup that really hurt me emotionally. Another girl comes along to manipulate me. We were together for a while when I decided to enlist to the military. She was upset, so she convinced me to get an apartment with her that she could live in while I'm gone. Fast forward to 3 months after I left, I found out she opened a credit card in my name, $1,000, repeatedly cheated on me, and trashed the apartment. This was almost 3 years ago, and I'm still dealing with the repercussions. Edit. I would say the worst part of all this was the mental aspect of being manipulated. The financial part was bad, only because I wasn't making a ton of money before enlistment, and not so much after. Not necessarily for her, but I tried to impress a girl at my middle school fall festival when a guy bet me $60 I wouldn't eat a live goldfish he had just won. I did it. It did not impress her. I took her to a Chick-fil-A rally to protest their anti-LGBTQ+ policies. Unfortunately it was a windy afternoon, and when I opened my passenger door to let her back inside my car, the breeze caught her Chick-fil-A wrapper that had been hidden under my seat. Foiled by my love of their chicken yet again.